start recording. Hi, Steve. How are you?
Hello, I'm wonderful, thank you. How's yourself?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm glad to see you again.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. It's been about a month now, 6 weeks,
Yeah,
something like that.
it hasn't been
Yeah,
that
yeah.
long. Yeah.
It's always nice to catch up with people.
Yeah, no, and I love that the internet has a positive side, which is collaborating and connecting with like-minded people because it's down to people like us, the light workers, to spread the message and plant the seed and, empower and inspire people. That's my opinion, at least.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, when I started properly developing, I've been developing. I started when I was 18, back in 20 19, sorry, 1984. I had to think then. So yeah, I started back then meditating and going to spiritualist churches and developing and things. But when I properly started to develop was the early 2000s. And even then, the internet was just starting. I mean, it had been going a few years and people were just starting to get onto it. But there wasn't a lot of community there. Facebook hadn't been started yet. There were a couple of MySpace, as it's called, or it was called. Uh, and that was okay, but you didn't really interact like we do on Facebook now and on YouTube and on TikTok and Instagram and things. So really, technology is a fantastic thing. I love technology. It's my day job. So
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. Just love the fact that we can all communicate and connect. And back in the early 2000s, that was one of the bigger problems, trying to find people that you could connect with, that you could learn with and develop with, and share experiences and knowledge. Now it's just absolutely fantastic. I just love it.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, a lot of people are sharing your thoughts on that one, on the communication, the privilege that we have today on communicating on pretty much everywhere. I messaged you from my phone, from Facebook. It was that
Yeah.
easy. Yeah, and it's funny when you said 1984. I wasn't even born. 1984.
Bless. You're making me feel old now. Luckily, I might look old, but I don't feel old. I'd
That's
feel
good.
as young as I was when I was 20.
That's good.
So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, the mind and our spirit, our soul is quite, our consciousness is quite dynamic, and we don't feel any older than yesterday or
Yeah.
5 years ago or 10 years ago or
Yeah.
20 years ago. We've just got more experience and more knowledge,
Yeah.
and that's what I just love about this work. It's just brilliant.
Well, I like to say that age is just a number.
It is, and of course, there are no new souls because we're all old souls.
Mm.
You know, people say, "Oh yeah, this is this newborn baby. It's a new soul." It's not. It's been
No.
here thousands of times, like
Yeah.
we all have. So there's no new soul because we are part of infinite intelligence. We're part of Source, God, the divine matrix, whatever you want to call it. We're all a spark of that.
Mm.
So we've been here many thousands of times. So yeah, um, there's no sort of new souls. We're all old souls,
Mm.
meaning we are ageless.
Yeah.
Our
Yeah.
consciousness has its limited experience while we're here on Earth, but once we leave the Earth and go back into spirit, our consciousness expands again. So yeah, our awareness expands. Yeah,
Yeah, our body is just a vessel. It's like a house that we're renting.
that's right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a funny way to put it, but yeah, I believe in those things. I believe that we are a bright light, and when our mission on planet Earth comes to an end, we just return to this brightness. I'm not even sure how to explain it. And then when we feel ready, because we all have free will, we return to this earth or somewhere else. I personally don't believe that planet Earth is the only place in the universe where you can exist. Um, because logically we don't know how big the universe is. And if the universe is as big as I think it is, there's no way this is the only planet where you can live.
no. There's trillions of planets out there, isn't there? And of course, even if there's sort of 0.1% of 0.1%, there's still going to be thousands of civilizations out there,
Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah.
intelligences. Yeah, without a doubt. Yeah, yeah. Earth is one of the most hardest, stringent the most hardest incarnations that we can have.
Mm.
There are others we can take a break from it, of course.
Yeah.
We can decide, I don't want to do that this time. I want to just go and spend an eternity in another planet that's full of love and light and nothing else. But then you get bored of that and you come back and you think, no, I'm going to have another bash at Earth. It's going to be a challenge. There's going to be lots of problems, but let's give it a go.
I like the word bash because that's exactly what's happening. It's proper bashing.
Yeah, it is an experience. And that's what we're here for. Yeah. We are spiritual beings having a human experience. Yeah. And that's it. The experience. We want the full gamut of experience as well, not just the little sort of good days. I had a bad day yesterday, for example. I couldn't shift this melancholy feeling. And of course, if we don't have those sad days, those melancholy days, we can't appreciate the good days. Yes. So I did all the energy clearing work. I brought the light in, expanded my aura, trying to clear off this negative energy or this downward feeling energy, this lower vibration. And I couldn't do it. And I'm sort of going through, I wasn't mentally having unsatisfying thoughts. I just felt a little bit melancholy. I think,
yeah. I felt the same way the other day, and I did what you just mentioned. It happens, because you're absolutely right. It's just part of the, as I like to say, it's part of the spiritual growth. Yeah. If you don't go through the mud, you will not appreciate when you get to the beautiful side of life.
Yeah. Definitely. I mean, and that's it. By about 7 o'clock, 7:30 last night, I thought this is silly. This is let's clear this energy once and for all. So I brought in the light. I brought in my guys, asked my guys to come forward and sort of expanded my energy field again. And within 2 minutes, it had gone. Yeah. I felt light as I normally do, which is brilliant. But again, we do need the contrasting experiences. We do need the sadness on certain things, and we do need to be able to experience and fully appreciate the positive things as well. One of the problems that we have is that our mind is designed to conserve energy. Yeah. So the familiar things, the things that we see every day, it ignores. It's a bit like sort of, have you heard the saying, you can't see for looking?
No, I haven't.
No, you haven't. Okay. Well, basically, have you ever put your keys down somewhere and you can't find them?
Oh, yes, I know what you mean.
And they're actually in front of you. They're actually in a really prominent place.
Yeah, I have this problem with my phone. Where's my phone?
Yeah. Well, that's it. You can't see for looking. You can't see the thing you're looking for because you're looking. So because your subconscious, your mind is trying to conserve energy, it's seeing your keys hundreds of times. So even though you're looking for them, your consciousness, your subconscious awareness won't bring the awareness of your keys into your focus, into your consciousness, because you've seen them that many times. Yeah. So you're ignoring them. Your conscious, you don't want them. It doesn't matter. Because, of course, there's no rationale to our subconscious. It just is a filter. Yeah. So it's filtering out the known, because we're looking at where our focus is divergent on finding something, but our conscious doesn't know what we're trying to find. So it just ignores everything that it sees, that it's familiar with. It's looking for the unfamiliar. So going back into sort of prehistoric times when we had an incarnation, when we were, when there were saber-toothed tigers and things, our divergent focus is focusing on the danger. And of course, our subconscious doesn't know that. It just knows that we're focusing on something that we're trying to find or locate, like a saber-toothed tiger or something behind a bush. So it ignores everything that's familiar. So what we need to do, we need to start to become aware of our thoughts and thought patterns and our thinking, to then open up our view from being divergent to convex. So we can see the things that are around us. So, for example, every time you walk out of your house, you may have trees and things and bushes and plants and flowers in your garden, but you've seen them so many times, you just ignore them. Yeah. Whereas, people want to be happy and they say, I'll be happy when I go on my next holiday. why not be happy now?
Yeah.
You can be happy now.
Yeah.
When I went to my first holiday in Greece, 1994. Were you born then, by the way? 1994?
I was already born at that time. Yeah, I'm not that young.
Good, good, good. Well, I had my first airplane experience on a flight, first time flight. So 1994, go to Spain, and I'm loving it, looking at all the newness because it's new, because my subconscious hadn't seen those things before. It allowed all the vision to come into my conscious awareness. So I'm seeing the trees, and I think that's all right. It's a bit sparse. Oh, the grass is all right. It's a bit, patchy and things. And the sea, oh, absolutely love the sea, blah, 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 etc., etc. And when I came back, it's like, oh, I can't wait to go again because it's absolutely brilliant, because it's a new experience. And new experiences we are aware of because it's new. We've not seen them before. Our subconscious hasn't absorbed that information. So it allows it to come through to our conscious mind. So a few years later, I went to Australia, 2013. So I did Sydney, Melbourne, Sydney, Uluru, which is Ayers Rock, and then Brisbane. Then we stopped with friends. And in Melbourne, we saw this tram go past. I've took pictures of it. And this is when, a couple of months later, I had the awakening, so to speak, of about our subconscious. So I'm seeing this tram go past. I think, wow, that's brilliant. They painted it in like graffiti. It was a proper paint job. It wasn't graffiti, but it was stenciled in all the different sort of glyphs of the Aboriginals and things like that. It was absolutely brilliant. So again, I took some photos. Then a few months later, I was walking through Sheffield city centre, which is, I'm in South Yorkshire in the UK, and Sheffield is the next city from where I am. So I was doing a job in Sheffield, and I suddenly saw this tram come past. I've been to Sheffield a few times, seen trams come past, seen them, ignored them, and I thought, oh, that looks similar to the design that they had in Melbourne. And it's like, oh, I looked up and it's like, oh, looking at the architecture. I'm thinking, I've been here so many times and I've never noticed the architecture because I'm familiar with it.
Yeah.
And of course, in the past, when I'd never had any interest in architecture, but when I went to Melbourne, you're looking around thinking, oh, wow, this is a brilliant building. They'd only been there a couple of hundred years, where in Sheffield, they've probably been there 600, 700, 800 years.
Yeah.
So you're looking around and you're going, wow, this is brilliant. Why haven't I seen this before? Because our subconscious is familiar with it, so it's blocking it. So that's how we can live a fulfilled life and have pleasure in every single day that we have. We can have joy rather than saying, I'll be happy when I get on holiday in 6 months' time. We can be happy now just by looking at the things around us, by opening our vision, our awareness to the things that is around us. So, and again, sort of a week or two afterwards, I was walking the dog, and where I live, it's reasonably hilly. So I'm on sort of halfway up a hill, and you can see down into the valley, and you're looking out onto the expanse, and it's like I saw it for the first time, in effect, because I'd seen it that many times. I'd grown up. I was born literally 4 doors from where I'm living now.
Okay.
So I've always been here. I've always seen the same vistas. But I'd seen this, it was as I'd seen this for the first time. There's a church in the distance, and I think, oh, that looks nice. The trees and the fields and the little village in the distance as well. I think, wow, why haven't I seen this before? This is fantastic. This is like when I went to Greece and saw all the new things there. And it's opening up your awareness to what is around you, so you can be happy now.
Yeah.
And there's some massive trees where I am. This is an old estate that I'm on. It's sort of 60 odd years old. Not as old, but older than me. I'm going to say not as old as me then. No, it's older than me. And there's some really, really big trees. And it's like, you're looking at it and wow. And in the winter, because obviously this has gone on for like 10, 15 years now. And in the winter, you can see them and they look without any leaves and things, they look like the lungs that you see the pictures of, all the little areolae and things like that, the branches of the lungs and things. I think, wow, this is just uncanny. This is divine. This is meant to be. This is so beautiful. It's emotional, and you can. And once you start opening yourself to what is around you, even if it's a weed growing through a crack in the pavement, and you think, wow, life is beautiful. It's fantastic.
I've noticed that nature always finds a way to live,
Yeah.
to procreate. It's, you know, because I go for a walk. There is a river not far from where I live, and I go for a walk there every evening, and I look at the birds sometimes, and you know, they're just they find what's around them to help them enjoy, to live their lives, you know, to build a nest, to find food, to grow the to raise their little ones. And they never, you know, they never complain. It's just the only humans sometimes don't, I think we don't appreciate how lucky we are. We're not, we have forgotten to express gratitude, or we don't actually know that the, you know, expressing gratitude is it can shift our mindset into a positive direction.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, gratitude is one of the highest vibrations there is.
Yeah.
Love and gratitude, very, very similar. So once we start to feel gratitude, once we give thanks for things, of course, when we're given something, we feel grateful, as in gratitude. So if we thank the universe, thank God, thank source, whatever you want to call it, for the little things, we're showing appreciation, we're showing love for the things that we've received. So, for example, when I'm teaching, I say, you know, every morning, don't jump out of bed straight away when the alarm goes off. Just sit there for a few seconds and breathe. Take a deep breath. A couple of deep breaths is what you need to start your day. Really deep, deep breaths. And then just feel how wonderful and warm it is to lay there and be thankful for your bedclothes, the mattress, your pillows. So thank you, God, thank you, source, thank you, the universe, for the pillows, for the soft pillows. Thank you for these warm blankets. And then when you do get up, thank you for, if you've got carpet, thank you for the carpet, or thank you for my slippers. Doesn't matter what it is. Get into the bathroom and you're brushing your teeth. Thank you for the toothpaste. You know, thank you for the toothbrush. Just thank you for the running water. I mean, going back, you know, 60 years ago, a lot of places didn't have running water in the UK. You know, you had to get it from a jug and, you know, outside from a tap and things and all sorts. And likewise with baths and showers. If you're in the shower every morning, just imagine the water flowing over you, washing away lower vibrations, negative energies, if you want to call it that, and just be thankful for that running water. And again, 60 years ago, you were lucky to have a tin bath in front of a fire once a week and relax in that. So yeah, we are, again, it's about familiarity, isn't it? It's about the fact that our subconscious filters most of the things out, so it doesn't need our active brain, the bit that uses the energy, doesn't need to focus on everything and anything. It just focuses on what it needs to, a divergent focus. So we forget about all these things. But once we do start to remember, I mean, one of the things that I ask people to do when I'm, again, teaching and the groups that I do is say to yourself, for each and every thought you have, or I say, for each and every thought you have, ask yourself, is this a satisfying thought or an unsatisfying thought? And if it's unsatisfying, try and change it to one that is. Try and get out of your own head. Try and go for a walk on the beach, or imagine walking on the beach, or your favorite place, walking down by the river, for example. And it's surprising how those little tweaks to your daily thought patterns can make a big difference. It does take time, like anything. Once you get past the age of 7, everything is about repetition. Everything that we learn is about repetition, or shock. We'll learn things through shock as well, as in a shocking experience. We'll learn something. So there are a few ways to learn. So repetition is the thing, and you may forget for 2 or 3 days, or you may be, you know, having a negative thought while walking down the stairs, and if you catch yourself, and the more you catch yourself, the more you do it, and the more it becomes easier, because things we practice, we become more proficient at. It sinks into our subconscious programming. So again, you know, as soon as you remember, as soon as you feel you're starting to go down in a sort of sadness or a mardy mood or a grumpy mood, just ask yourself, you know, are these satisfying thoughts or unsatisfying thoughts? And then again, change them to something that is. And over time, it might take 6 months, 8 months for you to get doing it regularly. It does become a subconscious habit. It does become a conscious habit, sorry, a subconscious program that then becomes a conscious habit. And it does make a difference. It doesn't work all the time. It didn't work for me yesterday, although my thought patterns weren't negative. I was just feeling low and low energy, but my thoughts were okay. I was having good thoughts, not negative ones. So I know it wasn't my brain overthinking things. It was something else. Probably the universe saying you need to take 5 minutes today. Get out of the way, just relax, don't do a great deal. I still ended up working, but there you go. So yeah, it's surprising how once you do start this practice, or if you do start this practice of analyzing your thoughts, after 3 or 4 months, 5 months, 6 months, something like that, you suddenly realize that this is your conscious thought, and then you suddenly have another consciousness over your main thoughts, if that makes difficult to explain. So you learn to see the thoughts that you're having from a slightly elevated perspective. It's as though your left brain and your right brain are having different thoughts, and your logical brain is going, well, the right side of the brain, the emotional side of the brain is kicking off, so I need to calm it down. So you're literally having two thoughts at the same time. So it's as though your consciousness is stepping back and over, and you've got an overview. It's really weird to explain, but it's quite profound when it happens. And once it does start to happen, that's it. It's there because it's a practice that you've done and you've learned, and it's there all the time. So it is quite astounding. It's fantastic being able to realize that we can control our thoughts. And of course, we, as far as we know, we're the only species that can change their state of being, their happiness level, if you want to call it that, just by thoughts alone.
Yeah.
So again, we have ask yourself, is this a satisfying thought or an unsatisfying thought, and change it. And we're, as far as we know, the only beings that can do that. So yeah, we can live a more fulfilled life, a more happier life, if we take control.
Yes. Yeah, and I agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah, the problem is we run sort of up to 95% of the time on our subconscious learnt programming and behaviors.
Yeah.
So once we start to come out of that, once we start to see and know that we're doing that, we can then start to live a more fulfilled life. And of course, the happier we are, the more fulfilled we are, the better chemicals run through our body. So we actually live longer by being happier. And this is a scientific fact as well. But the happier you are, the longer you will, on average, live. Yeah. Of course, there are exceptions, but generally speaking, yeah. So yeah.
I believe that. Yeah, I believe that. I believe that. I often say that negative thoughts will never give you positive life. And I have learned to convert. I like to say convert negative into positive. It took me a long time, by the way, as you said. It took me a long time, but it is possible. And when you learn to do that, your life changes for the better. It's like I had an upgrade. Everything is better in my life now because I think positive thoughts. I've got of money. I've got a nice house. I met my soulmate. I'm surrounded by people who understand me. They don't attack me like they used to do 4 years ago. You conspiracy theorists, blah blah blah. And that's all because, I released that negativity and I moved on in a positive state of mind. And the thing is, and this is one of the things I talk about on my TikTok channel. It's not difficult to do it, but I don't know, people maybe don't know, or they can't be bothered. I'm not sure which one.
It's too easy. That's the thing. It's too easy. It's like I'm one of my groups that I do a Sunday night session on healing, where we send out a positive intention for a particular member of the group. And this week I have a little 5-minute chat at the beginning of them. And this week I was talking about, I forgot where I was going. That's because my brain's not working. What was I going about? Can't remember. Doesn't matter. I'll come back to it. So yeah, back positive thinking anyway. Yeah. It's all about changing our thought patterns, and it is really easy. Oh, I know what it was. It's like sort of things are New Year's resolutions, for example.
Mm.
You know, we start them and we do them because they're new and they're exciting and we want to make a positive change in our lives. But again, going back to the subconscious, once we start to become familiar with them, our subconscious starts to block them. So then we actually forget because it's no longer in our consciousness, our conscious thought patterns. Our subconscious is saying, you don't need to do that. You know, we'll just forget about that for today. You know, you can have a cig if you want, or you can have a chocolate biscuit, or you don't need to exercise, whatever it is, whatever
Yeah.
your New Year's resolutions are. And that's because they're becoming familiar. They're no longer new. So this is going back to what I was saying earlier about seeing things for the first time. So repetition is the thing. You have to consciously be aware of your New Year's resolutions, for example, and you need to keep pushing through. You need to put a little sticker on your bathroom mirror. Don't forget to not smoke, or don't forget to go to the gym, or whatever, just as a physical reminder, because our subconscious will blank it out. And that is a natural thing. That is what the subconscious is meant to do, to conserve energy for the brain, or the brain to conserve energy. It does use a lot of power, especially when we're thinking. There are a lot of people that don't think as well. Run on subconscious programming 95% of the time. So repetition, that's the only thing. Well, there's sort of four main ways to learn things, but repetition is how, after the age of 7, as I mentioned earlier, is how we remember things or learn things. So once we push through and continue to make it a subconscious programming, a subconscious habit, that's when things take off. That's when we do go to the gym, because it's a regular occurrence. It's not new anymore. It's not something that our subconscious has got familiar with and pushed to one side. We've pushed through that and we've made it a new program within our subconscious. So yeah, repetition is the way to learn. Just before and just after we wake up, just before we go to bed or fall asleep, and just after we wake up, we're in what's called the theta state, the hypnotic state. So we can either play a tape in the background, tape showing my age, play a little tune on Alexa or something like that, before you go to bed, to reprogram your subconscious. It's or even say things to yourself. Yes, I am wealthy, I am healthy, I am happy, whatever you want to do. You know, a couple of minutes before you go to sleep, a couple of minutes after you wake up as well. Again, it's the gratitude thing when you first wake up. Don't jump out of bed. You're still in the hypnotic state. Use that time to reprogram your subconscious. Of course, hypnotherapy works. That's another way to do it. It's the same thing. You drop your body into theta, and the hypnotherapist will then help you reprogram your subconscious. So yeah, you know, we learn to, or our subconscious blocks the normal things in our lives that's not a threat, or we're not concentrating on.
Well, when you said about repetition and exercising, it's in meditation, for example, because I love to meditate and to exercise, and starting doing these practices are the most difficult for people, because it's something that they're not used to doing. But once they start doing it and they see the benefits from exercising and meditating or going for a walk or whatever you want, you will feel them motivated to continue doing what you're doing. But it's just this first step towards improvement. I don't want to use the word change, but towards improvement.
Yeah, it's like you're at your peak when you're starting something new, and then it drops down because it's becoming familiar again. And if you don't catch it as it starts to get to the bottom of the little hump and force yourself to then do it, it doesn't become a program. So then you continue to not bother, and you think, oh, I'll do it next week, I'll do it next month, I'll do it 2 months before I go on holiday.
Procrastination is the enemy of success.
Definitely. Yeah, without a doubt.
And consistency is key to success.
It is, definitely. And again, we need those little pointers. Once it becomes the normal, and the normal doesn't necessarily mean we've learned how to do that subconsciously. So it's a bit like driving a car. When you first start to learn the car, you're looking where either the shift is on the column, or in the UK we've got a stick shift. So you're sort of doing this and you're looking everywhere. But once you become familiar with it, it gets easier.
Yeah.
And then once you pass your driving test in the UK, and once you've been driving for a few months after that, things become automatic. So you're no longer thinking, is somebody going to step out? What do I need to do? Do I need to change gear yet? It just becomes automatic because it's a learnt behavior. It's a subconscious thing. And your subconscious knows how to do things better than your conscious mind. So yeah, once we get past the little dip in our subconscious conscious programming and start to push through, then it becomes a learnt behavior. Then it's just part of our being. It's part of our it's our new normal rather than the old normal, and it takes a while to get.
Yeah, it takes practice. Yeah, people we're so impatient in today's world. It's unbelievable. I had to learn how to be patient. And there is no instant solution to becoming a better version of yourself. You just have to take it slow, be patient with yourself. Everybody wants to be rich and everybody wants to be happy, but you have to do something about it. The universe will only meet you halfway. You need to take positive actions. And one of these positive actions is converting your negative mind into positive, for example.
Yeah, without a doubt. Yeah. Stop watching the news.
That's one of the biggest things. I stopped watching the news and reading newspapers years ago. One of the best decisions I've ever made. I have no idea what is happening in the world. I remember, was it last year or the year before, there was shortage of eggs or tomatoes or something. I had no idea. I went to the market and they were talking about shortage of whatever it was. And I'm thinking, what are you talking about? And they explained, I have no idea. And because I don't know, I'm not in a negative mindset, because the TV, all it wants to do is, mainstream media, is to distract people and to make them feel scared. And fear is a low vibration.
Yeah. Stress, but stress people out. When we're in stress, we're our focus is so diverse, that sort of conversion into a small narrow band. We can't see for looking, is the saying again. So well, and again, if you're new on this path, some of your listeners, if they're new on this, it does take time. But eventually, once you do start to have that positive mental attitude, you can then watch the news and you then realize that, yes, there's some awful scenes on there and there's some heart-wrenching news stories, but you don't have to let it affect you emotionally. You don't have to allow the stress hormones to kick in because of what you're watching. You can watch it with an objective mind, and you can then, that's when you can help. That's when the positivity comes forward. Because if you then start to stop reacting to subconsciously reacting or to the situations, when we do start to react, we then start to flush our bodies with certain chemicals that causes stress, the stress chemicals, stress hormones. And those stress hormones aren't there for regeneration and health. They're there for fight or flight. They're there to push the energy from our core center, our heart center, chakras and things like that, into our extremities so we can fight or run away. So when we are in a stress state, and there's a lot of people that's in a stress state probably 85% of the time, and that's not a good place to be, because the body isn't regenerating. If you've been sort of shocked or something, you probably feel butterflies in your tummy. That's when your chemicals and the hormones are pushing all your energy out to your extremities, because there's not enough blood flow in your stomach to digest the food. So you're feeling all fluttery and butterflies and things because of nerves. And of course, if you're not digesting your food properly, you're not going to get proper nutrients flowing around your body. So that's when we need to ask ourselves, is this a positive thought or a negative thought, or a satisfying, unsatisfying thought? Change it to one that is. Because as soon as we start to change our thoughts and feelings to a better thought and a better feeling, even if it's sort of one from scared to one to anxious, and then anxious to, reticent and moving up the ladder. You can't jump from depression to pure happiness in one go. It does take time.
Yeah.
You have to move up the ladder one rung at a time. So once we do move into that positive, happy mental mindset, the chemicals that are released from our bodies, the hormones, are then there for regeneration and health and repair. So that's when the body goes into repair. For example, if you're being chased by a saber-toothed tiger and you've got an infection, your body's not going to fight the infection, because in 5 minutes' time you might be eaten by the tiger, and then the infection is the tiger's problem. It's not yours. So the body, if we're in stress that much, the body will reduce its healing capacity.
Yes. Yeah.
And likewise, when we are in a happy state, a good place, the body then releases the chemicals for repair and regeneration.
Yeah.
And it is such a powerful thing as well. We I read a story about a guy going back into the 60s or 70s, and he was diagnosed with cancer. And what he did was, he didn't back in the day there wasn't chemotherapy, or not as like it is today. It was a death sentence, so to speak. So he thought, well, I'm not going to be miserable and gloomy about it. I'm going to let life take its course. I'm just going to sit down, enjoy myself, watch as many comedy films as I can. And that's all he did. Just watched comedy after comedy, laughing, proper belly laughs, and feeling joy just from taking his mind out of the mind space and concentrating on the comedy itself. And 6-8 weeks later, he was cancer-free.
Yeah. Let's continue this conversation in a minute because we're running out of time. Do you mind joining me on the other link I sent you?
Not a problem.
Excellent. I'll see you in a minute. Again, there you go. Right. So what you said about this story a minute ago about the guy who had cancer and he was just laughing. Is this from the book The Secret?
No, because I've heard this story probably 20 odd years ago. I think The Secret came out in 2006. They may have said it as well, but I've known about it for a long, long time.
I've read it before because they had a chapter dedicated to health. And because I believe in that. I believe that we can heal ourselves. And I don't really have any health problems, but if I feel if I feel unwell for whatever reason, I've got back pain or whatever, I don't take medication. I don't have any medication in the house. I use essential oil. So I listen to healing frequency and I meditate and I focus on that area. But that comes down again to the power of mind. If you think that even if there's nothing wrong with you, and if you think, oh, I've got a headache, you're going to get a headache.
Yeah.
Isn't it this? It's incredible how powerful our minds are, and yet we don't use them for our advantage.
Definitely. I mean, a week last Sunday, I got up early. I get up about 8 o'clock, sort the animals out, and I'm sneezing away and thinking, oh God, I'm getting a cold, and like rubbing my eyes and all sorts. And it sort of waned off a little bit. So during the day, I wasn't too bad. The odd sneeze and the odd blowing the nose and sort of 5 minutes. And I thought, it's getting worse, this. And then I did my normal Sunday night healing session. And afterwards, I thought, no, this is no good. I'm not going to get a cold. I'm going to sit down. I'm going to meditate for 5 minutes. I'm going to bring in the energy, ask my guys to come forward, raise my vibration, raise my healing potential. And within 10 minutes, I didn't sneeze again. And I was fine that night and the cold never progressed.
Yeah.
And looking back, I've unconsciously done that loads of times, because whenever I've had a cold growing up, it's always been very short-lived. Not always. Occasionally, I do get a cold where it'll last for 4 or 5 days. But invariably, look, again, this is sort of a recent realization that I was so, I don't know, positive when I was younger, I suppose, that if a cold did come, it would only last a day. It would be a bad cold, but it would only last a day, which is quite, well, I don't know if other people have had that experience, or whether it's 3 and a 4 day cold, a general. But
Well, I
the
had
power of the mind.
years ago, I had a runny nose, I remember. You know how it doesn't stop. It's so frustrating. And I used frankincense essential oil, and in 2 days it was gone.
Yeah.
It was amazing. When I tell someone this about, they don't believe me. Well, take your medications then.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm. The things that our body is capable of, it's phenomenal.
Oh
I mean,
yeah.
Dr. Joe Dispenza is one of the biggest advocates of the power of the mind. Have you heard of Dr. Joe Dispenza?
If I see her, I'll probably recognize her.
Oh, it's a him, but you're
Oh,
okay.
it's a him, right? Never, never mind then. I'll write
Joseph,
it
not
down.
Joanne. Yeah, yeah. He was a chiropractor, and in 1986, I think it was, something like that. He's had a very successful business. He ran a yoga studio, a martial arts studio, and he was doing a triathlon, and he was on the push bike part of it. And one of the marshals flagged him on to say, "Yeah, come on through this road junction." And the marshal had got his back to the traffic, so he flagged Joe through. Joe comes around the corner at whatever speed he's going, and then this big 4x4 hit him, sent him, I don't know, 30, 40, 60 yards in the distance. And he woke up 3 days later in the hospital with compression fractures and 6 broken vertebrae and all sorts. And because he was a medical practitioner, he knows about the spine and what have you. He had the doctor came in, where you're going to walk again, having something called a Harrington rod, proceed rods in your spine to hold your spine, to pull your spine apart to help heal it. But they're in permanently. Or you're going to live in a wheelchair. You're not going to be able. He had another, because he was in a doctor and he knew doctors. He got another consult to come through. They said the same. And he got another one to come through, and they said the same. And he got another one to come through, and they said the same. 4 doctors, all with the same opinion. You're going to have this Harrington rod. So he ummed and ahed, and he thought, well, if there's an intelligence in our body that keeps our heart beating, of course, he's into yoga as well. So is a spiritual learning on the spiritual path. If there's an intelligence that keeps our heart pumping, our skin repairing itself when we cut ourselves, our bones regenerate over time. Every 7 years, we've got a new body, in effect. The lining of our lungs gets replaced every couple of weeks. So, if there's an intelligence there that can do that with us without us having to do it, if I can focus my attention and tell that awareness, that intelligence, what to do, then I might be able to heal myself. Anyway, so he's laid on his stomach for 3 or 4 weeks. He's starting to go through a mind movie, imagining, pretending to rebuild his spine through his imagination. And of course, like any new process, you start something, and then your subconscious will come through and say, "What are you doing that for, you stupid thing? You're going to lose everything. You're going to lose your business. You're never going to walk again if you don't have." And then he thought, quiet in the mind, quiet in the subconscious, let's refocus again, and blah, 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 blah. After about a week, he got it down to a fine art. So he could rebuild his spine from top to bottom in about 20 minutes. And then a week later, it was 5 minutes, and then he can do it within 30 seconds type of thing. So he's doing this, and then he suddenly feels a twitch in his foot, which he'd not felt for weeks. Long story short, 6 weeks later, 12 weeks later, he walks into the doctor's, and the doctor says, "Oh, you've had your Harrington rod procedure then?" And he goes, "Nope." The power of the mind is that strong. It's that phenomenal when you have the right intention and the right process in place. I mean, it's just fantastic.
I think this story was in The Secret as well, because I've heard of it.
He was in there. He was in The Secret, yeah.
I could not, I mean, I believe in the power of mind, but when you hear these incredible stories, it's like, oh my God, this is amazing.
Well, the research, he's just done his 50th retreat. and he does sort of weekend retreats and week-long retreats. So teaching people how to do this, and he has so many testimonials of, there's one person with like 50 small little tumors in the brain, no longer have any tumors because of the meditation and things. He's done studies where he gets beginner meditators on a weekly regime of meditating for 20 minutes a day. So they test the blood before they start and they test the blood afterwards. So they're testing for certain health-giving enzymes and hormones in the blood. So that they get these people to meditate for 20 minutes a day for 5 days, and then at the end they tested the blood again, and the healthy, life-giving chemicals flowing through the body increased by 55%, and that's just in a 5-day period. So meditation is the key.
Oh yeah.
You know, meditation, get yourself out of your own head, get your subconscious subdued, start thinking positive. Even if you just imagine walking along a beach, you know, imagine the sun coming down on your body, giving you energy, giving you life, things like that, and you're away. You know, you start on that path, and it's so uplifting. I mean, I used to be such a grumpy person. I'm an IT guy, so I've been in IT for 40 years now. I first started my business when I was 17. The business that we're running now, we're on our 28th year.
Okay.
And we had a shop at one time, a retail store where people would bring in their computers for repair, and we'd sell computer accessories. And we, over a 10-year period, we employed 12 different people. And only one of them could actually do what they said they could do on the interview. So then me and my other business partners, we were carrying our employees. We were working 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, literally for about 5 years, just to pay the bills and pay ourselves and pay the wages and pay everything else. And I got so grumpy and I don't know, frustrated, and it was unbelievable. But then I got back into the meditation in type of thing in the year 2000, 2001 to 2003 is when I started properly again. And such a change around, such an improvement. And also, again, the asking yourself, is it a satisfying thought or an unsatisfying thought?
Yeah.
It changes your life. It really does.
I'm gonna try that because I've been struggling since Friday. I had stressful experience and I had a headache because of that. And I was struggling to release, even though I know how to do it. It was just very difficult.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna try this satisfying, unsatisfying thought. Well, which is pretty much the same as negative and positive, but I'm gonna try that. I'm gonna try these exact words: unsatisfying and satisfying thoughts.
Well, the universe doesn't go in negative. You can't have a negative something. You can't have anything less than zero, let's say. So you can't have, if there's no water, you can't have a negative no water. There's just no water. You can't go past zero water. You can't go, you know, if the glass is half full, there's still water there. There's 50% there, let's say. And if you get to zero, you can't go negative zero of water. Does that make sense? So the universe does not work on negatives. The words negative, the negative words. So if you're meditating and you go, right, I don't want this headache anymore. We know is a negative, as in let's remove it. The universe doesn't. The universe just sees the vibration of headache.
Yeah.
So we're then thinking about the headache.
Yes. Yeah.
So
sure.
we're thinking that I've got a headache. I need to get rid of it. I don't want this headache. Universe, take this headache away. And he goes, oh, you've got a headache? Oh, let's give you some more headache.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
no,
that
that's
was one of the things that I
over-exaggeration.
read in The Secret, and it was very interesting because I used to do that. You know, if there was something unpleasant happening in my life, I wanted to remove the unpleasant event, but because I was focusing, that's what I didn't think. I was focusing on the unpleasant event.
Yeah.
And that didn't help, actually.
No. So when there's a lady called Lynn McTaggart, who's fantastic, by the way. She does something called the intention experiment and the power of 8. And that's what my Sunday sessions are all about. But the issue that I have is she will that she has regular sessions for people and for situations around the world as well. They've just done a one in America to bring both sides of the country together again, political wise.
Yeah.
I've not seen the results. She posted the results a couple of days ago. I've not had a chance to look yet. But her way of doing it for me is slightly wrong, and I do it slightly different. So she will say, I don't know, let's go with, I don't know, let's stick with cancer, for example. They will go and say, our intention is for Jane to no longer have cancer, to be healthy and well in every way, just as a quick example. Whereas you're still bringing in the thought of the cancer, so that is, again, I'm a Reiki master as well. So we're taught when I first started doing Reiki, don't concentrate, don't think on the illness per se, think of the wellness. So if we, sorry, excuse me, let me just turn the volume down. So somebody will get that. So on the intentions that we do, we would say something to the effect of, our intention is for Jane's body and immune system to bring her back into health and wellness, rather than concentrate on the cancer. Again, the universe reflects back at you what you have. There are, on the Reiki scene, there are people that's reported back saying, I did my Reiki session. Some on Facebook, of course, lots of Facebook groups, one of the Reiki ones. You'll get people saying, oh, I did some Reiki and I feel horrible afterwards. I feel terrible. I've got a terrible headache and things like that. That's because they're concentrating on the illness rather than the wellness. And again, there's such a big shift once you realize the universe reflects back to you what you think about. So you get what you think about, whether you want it or not. And it's whether, your subconscious is bringing up these feelings and thoughts as well. That's why I say, for each and every thought you have, or once you realize your thought patterns are going downhill, change them to something more uplifting. Because the universe does reflect back to us our thoughts, feelings, and emotions, if that makes sense.
So it's the same. I don't know why I had this thought in my head now. It's the same as, let's say there is a negative person in your life that it's making your life miserable, and you want to remove that person from your life, but it's the same thing. You're focusing on that person, and which is why this person remains in your life. Yeah, it's so simple, isn't it? It's the realization.
It is so simple. That's the beauty of it. There's nothing complicated. If you go on a course and it's so complicated that you think, wow, my head's spinning, they're telling it wrong. They're just doing it to get you on the course to get you money. It's so simple. And if there is someone negative in your life, whether it's a boss, and of course, stress is the biggest killer, literally. It's scientifically proven. So and of course, stress is no longer seeing the saber-toothed tiger or hearing the trees rustle and thinking, is there something in there that's going to eat me? It's now the mother-in-law or the boss or your co-worker or the person that you're sitting next to on the bus that you see every day that, that's chewing gum with their mouth open or whatever it is, playing music too loud. Those are the stressful situations. So all we need to do is, instead of saying, oh, God, I wish he wouldn't on the bus, it's all you need to do is, I'm going to have a really nice bus journey today. It's going to be peaceful and blah, blah, blah. And the universe will try and match your vibration and bring that about. Likewise with your boss, if it's a boss or a co-worker, just think of them as a nice person. Oh, I'm looking forward to seeing, Alex, who's normally a pain, but he's going to be really nice today. I really like Alex. I get on with him. I don't like some of his things, but I really like, he's a nice person, blah, blah, blah. And, if you've read any or seen any of Abraham Hicks, Esther Hicks, the law of attraction type thing, she goes more into this. And there's some really good explanations on what to do. And it does work. It works. And your thought patterns as well have a massive impact on your everyday life. Once you become aware of them, if you're not aware of them, then you're just going to be going automatic pilot.
That's the thing. It's people to acknowledge what is to recognize what is happening in their lives. And that takes courage, by the way, to admit to yourself that something is not right and you have to work on it.
Yeah. It- Again, we go into the unconscious state of being where we're just living life, when we're living life and we're looking for the future to be happy. And it's all about being happy now. It
Yeah.
really is.
Yeah.
And it doesn't happen every day. And we do get sad days, and
Yeah.
like I did yesterday. And we do get sad 10 minutes or something will upset us. But the higher up you get on the emotional ladder of joy and happiness, those little setbacks mean you bounce back quicker.
Mm.
So if you're down here with an emotional set point of frustration and negativity and melancholy, getting when you drop even further, that's even worse. So you're then getting into anger and depression, and trying to get back up again takes a lot longer. But
Yeah.
if you bring your set point, your emotional vitality higher by positive thinking, and that's all it is, then those little days you bounce back a lot quicker. And you've not got as far, you don't drop as far into the negativity, let's call it, before you come back to your normal set point. And it is all about the body is a weird thing, and we get used to where we're at. We get
Yeah.
used to the situations we're
Yeah.
in,
Yeah.
and that's the biggest problem, because
Mm.
that becomes our new set point.
Mm.
That becomes our new normal. So we have to, again, it takes practice. We have to learn to lift our vibration, to lift our emotions, to feel happy. Even, I'll not say even when things are going bad, because that's difficult, but we need to raise ourselves up above, up as much as we can, back into the normal set point. And the more we're sitting at, let's say, 75% happiness, we get used to it, and our body gets used to it, and our body goes, oh, I like this. This is a nice feeling. Let's go back to normal. So when you're concentrating on something, your body, your subconscious then starts to run the show while you're concentrating. So then the new normal, it knows that's what the set point is. But if you're
Yeah.
all depressed and things, and you're down here, and that's your normal,
Yeah.
when you start concentrating on things, your body goes, oh, we've not felt anger today. Let's bring some chemicals into play that cause thoughts and feelings to create those anger thoughts and feelings that then perpetuate the cycle. But then if you are from a 50 to a 75 and you're concentrating on something, and your subconscious goes, oh, we've not felt joy just in the past 10 minutes. Let's just push a little bit more chemicals forward to bring our joyness back up again, back to the set point, if that makes sense.
Mm.
So we get stuck in set points. We get
Yeah.
stuck in different vibrations, in different levels of happiness. And once you realize that you can create true happiness here, now, every day, most days, you know what I mean. So, there are exceptions. It's such an uplifting thing. It's power.
Yeah,
That's what it is.
we're in control of our own lives. No one has power over us.
Mm.
You know,
Go,
we choose to be negative. Nobody's telling us to be negative. We choose to be positive.
oh no, the government are telling us to be
Oh
negative,
God,
and
don't
the
even get
media
me
and
started.
religion, and
Oh, I know. I know.
once we take those out of the
Yeah,
equation, and
yeah,
that's a big part of it as
yeah.
well. Once we take those out of the equation, and once we do go on the, I mean, it's so hairy fairy, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
so, people laugh at it because they've never experienced it, and once you do experience it, it's a mind, it's literally a mind altering
Oh yeah.
experience.
I
And
when I didn't know anything about spirituality, I would say 4 years ago, I think I started to discover spirituality. Um, and it just seemed so unbelievable. And I remember thinking, I can't believe I didn't know this sooner.
mm, but we're all on different journeys. That's the thing,
Yeah,
isn't it? And
yeah.
different. Some of us aren't here to be spiritual. Some
Mm,
of us are here as teachers to
yeah.
teach other people how to become spiritual because of their negativity, let's say. Um, we are, as I said earlier, we are spiritual beings having an earthly experience.
Yeah.
And this is one of the most difficult incarnations, worlds, vibration that there is.
Mm,
We are mastering the art of growth.
yeah.
Uh, mm,
Yeah. Right. I think it's been an hour since we started talking.
Yeah, we could
Anyway,
go on for days at this rate.
right. How can people find you, Steve? I'm gonna
Oh,
include all of your links. I know I saw you have a
yeah.
lot of links. A
Yeah.
lot of links.
lot of irons in the fire. Well, my main profile, Steve Terry, or Stephen Terry, because I've got two.
Okay.
That's my main profile. Terry is my middle name, by the way. So
All right.
that's my. I've wrote a book, and I'm writing another book. So I thought, well, I need a pen name rather than my full name. So that's why I've gone with Steve Terry.
Oh, I
So
see.
Terry is my middle name. My surname is not related to those. So it's not my full name. And I'm not hiding anything, by the way. I mean, you can find me if you want. I'm very some of the groups that I'm on with both my full name, my proper profile, and my spiritual profile, let's call it.
Yeah, yeah.
So I try and keep them separate, and my day life and my sort of friends and family, and because like everybody else, they're not. Some of them aren't into the woo-woo side of things.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, let's not. We don't need their negativity. Let's keep on the positive side. Anyway, so the Power of Eight Yorkshire is one of them. Mystical Arts Academy is another.
Oh, yes, yeah.
Mystical Arts World is another. There's stephenterry.co.uk. What else? Again, Facebook. Just do a search on Facebook. Yeah, yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
sorry, go on. Doesn't matter. I was going to mention.
I was just going to put your because I saw all your links on Steve Terry's profile.
That's
If
it.
I include that profile, will that be okay?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
fine. Yeah.
Fine then.
That's my main one now. I hardly go on my other now. So yeah.
Okay.
All my friends are boring. So shouldn't say that, should I? No, no.
Doesn't matter. You're entitled to your opinion. So,
Yeah, that's it.
any last words, Steve? Any messages? Anything that you'd like to sort of say to inspire?
Yeah, life is meant to be good,
Yeah.
and life is meant to be fun, and it's all down to learning this, appreciating this, and finding the joy and happiness in everything and anything. Again, the weeds growing through the cracks in the pavement. You know, it's life, it's survival, it's fantastic, and don't be putting yourself down by saying, "Oh, I can't pay the rent next month." If you are struggling for money or anything else, think of, because that's you're bringing the future into play, and you're bringing the negativity in. If you've got enough money for today, then you're wealthy. You've got enough for today. And if you're in such a negative place where even that's too much, you've got enough for the next 10 minutes. You know, and then you can expand on that and say, right, okay, I've got enough for this morning. I've got enough food for this morning. I've got enough water for this morning. I've got enough money for this morning. I'm wealthy. And the universe will see that and reflect that back at you and give you more wealth and give you more health and more vitality, things like that. So for each and every thought you have, ask yourself, is this a satisfying thought or an unsatisfying thought? It's that simple. It really is.
I like that. Well, thank you very much, Steve, for coming on my podcast. I'm sure we'll keep in touch.
Thank you for having me. And it makes a change being on this side of the podcast.
I know. When you interviewed me, I felt weird. And now I feel in my zone.
Excellent. Yeah, it does take some getting used to interviewing people.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm still not 100% at it, but yeah, I'd rather be on this side. Yeah, definitely. Well, thank you for having me, and have a wonderful day. And
you too.
thank you again.